The call is being recorded, so anyone that joins a little later or is unable to join will be able to view the call later when they have time from work duties to support. So thank you everybody for joining this webinar today. I'm really excited to be here to kick off the session and to introduce Thalia's new partnership with Fertifa. This is something that we've been working on for a while, and I'm really proud to be able to bring it to life together with the rest of the people and comms team. Special thanks to Polly Bond, because it's all of her hard work in driving this forward. She is so passionate about this area, and all of this hard work is down to her. It's her initiative, and she's been driving it through within our business. So a huge thank you to Polly. I think it's fair to say that at Thalia we talk a lot about putting people first. And I think the partnership with Fertifa is a great example of what that really means to us. We know that life doesn't stop when we come to work, whether that's growing a family, going through fertility treatment, managing menopause, or any other form of personal health. And it can affect us at any time. That's why we've partnered with Fertifa, who's the UK's leading provider of reproductive and family health support. And they're here today to take you through some information in relation to what they offer and the guidance and support that can be given to you and your family. They offer confidential expert advice on a number of key areas. And what's really important is that this service is also available to all Thalia employees and all of their partners. And I think that's really key to the offering with Fertifa, is that when you come into work and you may be concerned about people at home, you can seek advice and guidance for them. And it's really important to us that we're doing all we can in this area. Alongside this, you'll all be aware that we've also been reviewing and strengthening our family-friendly policies. So that includes maternity, paternity, adoption, and shared parental leave. We've also covered neonatal and bereavement leave. And as a team, we're committed to making Thalia a workplace that really reflects real life and that you get the support that you need when you come into work and when you need it the most. So today's session will give you a full introduction to Fertifa, how it all works, and how you can access all of the support for you and your partner. Whenever the time is needed. That may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it might be down the line in the future. But it's really important that you understand from Fertifa the offer that they can give you and the support that they can give. So I'd like to hand over to Eileen, who will take us through what the support and offer looks like from Fertifa in practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That's such a fantastic introduction. And I feel like with only maybe 2 more sentences, you could have done the whole sort of spiel for us. But thank you so much for such a great introduction and overview. And also another line, which was the thank you that you gave to Polly. We also wanted to thank you as well for, of course, the executive level support and Josh for helping to organize this session today. So before I say much more, I will want to remind everybody that this session is being recorded. We are intentionally using Zoom webinars so that if you do make a comment or post something in the chat or the Q&A, you can choose to make that anonymous. But if you choose not to, please note, like I said, this is being recorded for posterity, so bear that in mind. Having said that, we hope that's a useful thing because we would love for any of you or anyone else who wasn't able to join us live today to be able to view this back in future. So with that being said, I'll just start going through the slides really quickly. We only have probably about 25 minutes or so of content. So I promise you this won't be too heavy. As Sarah mentioned, this may or may not be relevant to you today or right away, but we hope that you will know or take away from you the fact that our support is here for you for as long as you're employed at Thalia, and that maybe in future, this is something that you can come to rely on. So in going through things, I'll talk about Fertifa, the company, really briefly. I promise it's not a sales pitch. We've already hopefully closed that bit. We'll talk about why we think, like Sarah mentioned, and as Polly has always been an advocate for, why reproductive, hormonal, and sexual health benefits matter, what some of those personal considerations could be for you as an individual, potentially for your partner or your spouse, but also for you as a colleague, for those that you work with, because maybe it's not you who's going through a particular circumstance, but maybe it's you who could be a bit more compassionate, understanding, or just supportive as a line manager, colleague, or a fellow team member. We'll then also talk specifically about what's included in the benefit, and then, of course, how to access it. And again, as I go, I do get sick of the sound of my own voice, so please do feel free to post something in the chat or in the Q&A as we go, particularly if it's relevant to something I've just said or you think I've missed out on saying. I'm really happy to take it as we go. So real briefly, we are London-based. Sorry for the accent. I've been here for 21 years and my children continue to remind me that I sound very American, but I promise you some of my American friends think that I'm trying it on and pretending to have a fake accent like Madonna or somebody. Nonetheless, even though I'm American, I'm talking to you from London. Our offices are near London Bridge. We are the UK and Europe's most comprehensive reproductive health benefits provider today, having been in business for now almost half of a decade. And we focus on offering awareness and prevention, not just for individuals, people like yourselves and who we'll refer to as our patients, but also for the companies and the workplaces. So it's to increase awareness and education within the workplace, and also then to provide opportunities for diagnosis, treatment, financing potentially, and then ongoing care for all of your reproductive, hormonal, sexual health concerns. I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but you'll see the logos here. We are all available, and everything from Fertifa is accessible through our mobile app that is available on both iOS and Android, and you'd be able to download that from either of those app stores, which I will talk about in detail towards the end of the session. So taking a step back, what actually is reproductive health, or what do I mean by reproductive health? And this is really, really key or central to a lot of what we'll talk about today. We are not just talking about healthcare or benefits that matter for those who are planning to reproduce, maybe already have reproduced, or anything to do with parenting at all. When we talk about reproductive hormone and sexual health, we're talking about health that relates specifically to your reproductive health system, your reproductive health organs, and your reproductive hormones. So that is every single individual at Thalia. It is not just women, it's not just men, it's not just those that are planning to become a parent, want to start a family, already have a family, or are thinking about anything related to that, as I mentioned. This is everyone who's walking around Thalia right now or online and working with you who has reproductive health organs and a reproductive health system. So this will include topics such as fertility and family forming. It does include sexual health, will include menopause for women, potentially later in life, but for some as early as in their 30s. Also includes men's hormonal, reproductive, and sexual health as well. And our mission is to increase access to healthcare around these topics for everybody, including yourselves and your partners and spouses, but also just to help ensure that you have all of the information you need in order to make the best decisions for your personal circumstances. So a little bit about how this is really relevant and a universal benefit then to everyone at Thalia, not just because you have reproductive health organs, but because some of you might be surprised to see some of these stats, or maybe just to bring some data points to the specifics of it. You know, we will know that 1 in 6 heterosexual couples will experience fertility challenges when they are trying to conceive. We do know that close to 50% or half of those will be male factor related for those heterosexual couples. We'll know even those that are successful in conceiving, 1 in 4 of those pregnancies will end in miscarriage. Again, outside of parenting or family forming or conception, 1 in 10 women in the UK will be diagnosed with endometriosis. That diagnosis can take between 7 to 10 years now because of wait lists on the NHS and access or lack of access to healthcare and to answering of their questions. We'll know that very few trans individuals will have thought about preserving their fertility before they undergo a transition, and how much their chances for becoming parents in future could be improved by that. And we will also know that nearly every single LGBT individual will need some form of support in order to become a parent or to start a family. So these topics are really, really relevant. And a lot of this actually was related to fertility and family forming. So I'll actually, in addition to the endometriosis statistic, talk about the fact that more than 40% of women going through perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms will consider dropping out of work altogether. That's not even necessarily a job change or changing companies. That is dropping out of the workforce altogether. And I mention that because I think that is a particularly commercially impactful statistic. First of all, obviously, it's terribly sort of disheartening that 42% of women will consider dropping out of work because of hormonal issues. But it obviously will impact productivity and commercial impact at an organization, not to mention maybe UK GDP when we're talking about that at a nationwide level. So we are talking about hormonal sexual reproductive health as it relates to all these topics for men and women alike. to try and bring that to life. Oh, sorry, I got too keen there and skipped too far ahead. To bring it to life, or to give you some examples of some of these topics, hopefully I've already been sort of dropping some keywords to help you think about some of the topics that we're here to support you with and to talk through. But in addition, there's a longer list here. It's sort of a non-cloudy word cloud that we're trying to display here or characterize. But, you know, in addition to, say, endometriosis, we can talk about contraception, we can talk about fibroids, we can talk about sexual transmitted infections, which we know, no offense, but that men are probably even less likely to go and have diagnosed than women relating to any of these topics, really. But we can talk about sperm freezing, we can talk about sexual health, maybe early detection of testicular cancer, maybe prostate cancer if there's a history in the family. We'll support with, you know, nutritional therapy as people are thinking about their life stages and as it might relate to their reproductive health or their hormonal health. We'll talk about PCOS, potentially even fibroids. I might have already mentioned that. I'm probably already repeating myself, but these are some of the examples or some of the keywords that we are here to help you with. And it's meant to actually not be a non-exhaustive list, but to hopefully then make some sort of pointers or signposts to other topics as well. Really anything that you can think of relating to your hormonal system. So to provide some structure and the opposite of a non-cloudy word cloud, we characterize what we provide as medical pathways. And these are the clinical pathways that you all now have access to. You'll see that all of the information, all the materials that are in the app are structured and tagged along these pathways. The first one is fertility and family forming. It does include any support, any well-being support, navigational advice and guidance relating to assisted reproductive technology, which is IVF, IUI, and ICSI, as well as preservation, so sperm freezing, egg freezing, and the like, and then other paths to parenthood, so other ways to form a family, which are surrogacy and adoption. And even before any of that, maybe just to consider options or to think about one's hormonal health and to think about fertility testing and consultations. Then moving to the right, the second clinical pathway is women's hormonal, reproductive, and sexual health. We do label this as and menopause because menopause is very top of mind, not least of which because of the statistic that I mentioned, which is 42% of women will consider dropping out of the workforce when they start to get affected by these symptoms. But we're talking about perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, any symptom management, questions about whether or not somebody's too young to be going through it. We know that the average age for women to go through the menopause in the UK is 51 years old. Menopause is defined as 12 months following a woman's last period. And we also know that perimenopausal symptoms can start 7 to 12 years before that point, which means that there will be women in their 30s who are experiencing early symptoms of menopause, even more women who might be experiencing it if their own mothers had early menopause. 1% of women actually have what's clinically defined as early menopause, so maybe in their mid or even early 30s. And then, of course, there might be some women who are affected or have been impacted by medical menopause based on some previous health history or other events. Nonetheless, it affects every single woman or with female health reproductive organs. They will go through this, whether they've had children or not, and obviously it's greatly debilitating. In addition to the menopause and perimenopause, like I've already mentioned, we have support as well for endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids, contraception. There are more than 100 different types of contraception available in the UK. The NHS will point you to one of 3. And so obviously that's due to cost as well as sort of popularity and what works for the general population. But that would probably give you signs to consider that maybe not every single person reacts the same way to those types of contraception. And if there are any questions or topics that we can support individuals with for perhaps getting a different kind of contraception, we're here for that as well. Going to the lower left-hand quadrant, then the third clinical pathway is men's reproductive, hormonal, and sexual health. And again, through that non-word cloud and some of the stats I've already mentioned, hopefully you get an idea for what we're happy to discuss with men, but it would be anything that comes to mind. We would tell you if we would signpost you somewhere else if it's not within our wheelhouse, but this covers everything within fertility and family forming, including, say, sperm testing or sperm motility testing, or for testing of the male factor relating to conceiving. could be early detection, like I said earlier, of testicular or prostate cancer. We would also support for erectile dysfunction. We've supported patients through vasectomies, reverse vasectomies, assisting them through testosterone decline as they age, which is very natural for all men, and even sexual transmitted infections. We can potentially send you a testing kit for testing for something at home, and then if you need it, prescribe you antibiotics and send those out to your home as well. In full transparency, testing and diagnostics will be at out-of-pocket expense. What we're here to support you with is the well-being support, the access to our clinical team, the question and answers, but then we'll navigate you or signpost you towards either testing with us, a private party, help you navigate through the NHS as well. We're not economically incentivized to have you go through private payer channels. We're here to provide a second medical opinion if you want to go through the NHS or if you're getting fantastic support from your local GP, for example. Finally, the last pathway, which is often really covered within the fertility and family forming pathway anyway, but we thought it was worth highlighting because of how important it is, particularly to the workplace, and that is maternity. So clearly we support individuals through maternity and going through all of the stages of maternity to offer a second opinion with whatever birthing plan they might have in place for maternity care they're already getting, again, through the NHS or any private clinic. We'll help with signposting to any counseling or any kind of support that might be needed. Unfortunately, we do obviously support, not unfortunately that we support it, but that it happens with pregnancy loss and miscarriage. If it's successful, a maternity sort of leave will also support with return to work support, for example, and anything related, again, to one's reproductive health and well-being relating to what they've been going through. So those are the 4 pathways. For each one of those pathways and every single one, so you don't need to necessarily come to us with some really holistic sort of question. It could be a very pointed question about a specific thing that you're thinking about. Again, am I too old? Am I too young? Is this the kind of lump I should be worried about? What would you think about this being my last smear result? Anything at all. We're happy to answer those questions. And we categorize the support we provide in 3 different buckets. The first I've already described to some degree is the awareness and education. Again, all of this is available through the app, and you'll see that we have articles, guides, videos, all sorts of written material or things that you can read or access, listen to, and watch through the app. We also offer live monthly webinars to all of you as Thalia employees now, also available for your partners and spouses as long as they are using the account that's registered to yourselves. These live monthly webinars are always hosted by our clinical team. So it will be one of our doctors, one of our nurses, one of our clinical team members about a specific clinical topic. If within the month it's not a clinical topic that concerns you, for instance, maybe it is family forming and you're beyond that, or maybe it is about menopause and you're a man and you have a question about something else, it might still be relevant and helpful for you to join a monthly webinar because it is, again, on an anonymous basis. And the team always leaves at least a half hour at the end of those monthly webinars for any Q&A. And so you can think of it almost like a drop-in surgery or a drop-in doctor's session where you can ask any anonymous question that you have, maybe about what you might be thinking or going through, and you haven't yet had time to book in. So those are the monthly webinars. We have the HR and line manager guides as well. We have a manager hub within the app. I hopefully mentioned already earlier that we're here to support you as individuals and who we'd regard as our patients, but also here to support the workplace and Thalia Waste Management and Sarah and Polly in their journey and wanting to support you and create a better environment for you, or one that seems even more supportive than it already is for everything that you're going through. And then, of course, we can signpost you to other benefits that might be relevant or even more helpful to whatever you're asking about. On the second quadrant here, upper right-hand side, the second component of what we offer for all of those pathways on the previous slide is the well-being and navigational support. So like I said, this is the get in touch, book a video call, again, through the app. You'll be able to speak to a member of the clinical team. And then after you've had that video call, you now have access for free, so included in the Fertifa benefit. This doesn't require any additional out-of-pocket cost. For free, you have access to that clinical advisor then on an unlimited basis for the whole time that you remain employed at Thalia. So you can then get back in touch with that clinical advisor through in-app chat or through email to ask any question at all. It could be something relating to what you discussed with them on the video call, but it also could be something else altogether. And the whole point is, though, you have a dedicated individual with whom you've spoken before. You've hopefully discussed your health history already. And so you can just pick the conversation back up and have a continuity of that conversation. So it can be oh, I remember on our call, you mentioned potentially 3 different options or things for me to consider. I'd like to now pursue the second one or the third one, or actually, I've had a question about that first scenario. For example, what do you think now that I've gone and done this? Or an entirely different topic altogether, but you have unlimited access and you'll get responses anytime during the day between the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. UK working hours on UK working days. If it comes in after those hours or slightly towards the end of those hours or that period, you'll get your response then the next working day. And that's the unlimited access that you have to our clinical team. These are accredited medical professionals. We're here not just for clinical questions, also for well-being support. Again, people might be already having treatment and really getting great treatment through the NHS, or maybe already a private facility or through other means. And we're just here as another source of advice or opinion. So maybe a second opinion or a third opinion, or just so that you know someone's got your back. A lot of these questions and these journeys can be quite daunting. You might get your appointments really quickly, but if it's the NHS, it might be limited to 20 minutes. If it's a private clinic, it might be unlimited, but you might feel not as comfortable asking all the questions that you might have. You can come back and ask us. And we would like you to know that someone's got your back, almost as an extension of the Thalia team, to make sure you feel supported through what you're going through. Having said that, I made a point of saying we are taking our duty of care and our responsibility very seriously because it's on behalf of Thalia. But I do want to stress that everything that you discuss with Fertifa is strictly confidential, patient doctor privilege. Nothing goes back to Thalia. We don't report on who is booking in, who is seeing what content, who's asking what queries at all. We do offer anonymized management information to Thalia so that Polly and Sarah can see how many people are accessing it, what percentage of engagement we're seeing, what topics are maybe most interesting to Thalia people, but never is it identifiable. It's always on an aggregated, anonymized basis. So your information, your questions are always confidential with us, but the well-being support that we offer is definitely shared between us, and the interest in making sure, the intention of making sure that you know someone has your back and that Thalia cares is what we're trying to project for you. And then finally, down on the slower column, now this will be at out-of-pocket expense, but because we've got such a great medical team, we're led by Gideon Lieberman, who's our medical director. We have other doctors, nurses, midwives, doulas, clinicians on staff. We can offer consultations if you'd like. Now, again, you can get consultations and we will help you signpost, we will help you navigate and make sure you can find your way through your GP, your local NHS trust. And of course, that would be free here in the UK. But if the wait list is too long, if you're frustrated with that process, if you want another option, we would also talk you through the ways to navigate private care. And if you're pursuing that, this is just one option, only offered for convenience. I promise you, this is not where we make any kind of economic benefit or our margin. It is just as convenience for you and our other patients. We will be slightly cheaper probably than somebody based in central London as it operates as a private clinic, but we will undoubtedly cost money as compared to, say, the NHS. So this is only if it's convenient and of interest. But within those consultations and assessments, we can offer testing and diagnostics, like I said, whether it's an STI testing kit, whether it's a hormone testing kit. We can offer prescriptions, whether it's for HRT or potentially antibiotics for an STI, or maybe it's for erectile dysfunction. And then, of course, we would refer you to private clinics if you like. That actually has no cost to it. The cost is associated with, of course, the private clinic you choose to go to, but we're happy to help you go through your decision process of which clinic, which clinician, which specialist to go to for whatever you might be going through. So those are the 3 areas or buckets of what we do for each of the 4 pathways that you might remember from 2 previous slides ago. In terms of then listing out exactly what's included, again, and everything on this slide is for free. So there's no, I'm not trying to muddle it up. Everything here is included for free, available through the app for you to access now as a Thalia Waste Management employee. It's also available to your partners and spouses as well. They can join the call that you would maybe book in with our clinical team. They can use your account to do the in-app messaging, the Q&A, or the emails. They can view webinars, join the webinars, again, using your account. So live and on-demand webinars, including that anonymous Q&A. So feel free to think about it like an anonymous drop-in session, the library that's within the app, the education hub, the manager hub for all the online resources that we already have and that we continue to add to every single day. Everything is written by our clinical team, by the way, authored by our clinical team. We're not using ChatGPT to churn out tens of articles every day. I'm not going to tell you we have more articles than any other resource necessarily, but I can tell you our articles represent a very specific clinical point of view that we can then supplement with the one-to-one advice. That one-to-one advice, like I said, the first entry point is a 30-minute video call with one of our advisors. Before you actually have the call, you will be asked to fill out a medical history questionnaire. That's not for us to be particularly invasive or nosy, but it's just to make the most of the time that you have on the video call. But then after that call, you do have unlimited one-to-one support with that individual. Like I said, between 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. UK working hours, 5 days a week, UK working days, through in-app chat or email. This is, I already started to gloss over it when I was describing some of the access or the components that we can offer and the advice that we can offer in the previous slides. But a typical journey would be that it starts with booking in a discovery call if you wanted to speak to somebody. They will send you a medical history questionnaire to fill out before the call to make the most of that 20 or 30 minutes that you'll be speaking to them. And then they'll talk through some of the navigational points, i.e. where to go, where you can go, which direction you can head for investigating or pursuing the questions that you had. The whole point is what we're pointing out here in number 4. Our whole reason for being is to make sure you can make informed decisions for yourself. Everyone's circumstances are entirely different. Everyone's health history is different. Everyone's health is different. We want you to know that you've got Fertifa as a resource to make sure that you're making the best decisions for yourself and for your circumstances. And then point 5 is just to say, if we were to refer to you private clinic, for example, or if you are happy through the NHS, it's not that we go away, we don't close the case, we don't close the file. We're here for you every step of the way and beyond. So, for example, maybe you are starting HRT, we would want to check in with you after 3 months to make sure that that's you're responding well to that, that you think that that's working for you, whether or not you might want to change something out, move to maybe a patch instead of a gel or something like that. So we're also here for aftercare as well. So now the nitty-gritty or the meat of it, how to actually get to it. And I mentioned how we start and how you book in. And yes, somebody has kindly asked the question, so I'm just going to acknowledge that from the Q&A, as in it was, it did come in right as or I might have come in earlier, sorry, but now's the perfect time to talk about it. So how to access it. Go to either the iOS or the Google Play Store and you download the Fertifa app. Please, please, please use your personal email address to register. A few minutes ago, I took pains to clarify that nothing you discuss with anybody at Fertifa will be shared with the Thalia team. We do hold and retain that information with great sensitivity, great data protection and privacy. So therefore, use your personal email address to register, because therefore any comms goes through your personal email address. We don't want it going through your Thalia work email address or Thalia work servers. So you use your personal email address to create your account. That's a Gmail, Google Mail, iCloud, me.com, whatever it might be, Hotmail, and so on and so forth. And then this is the 8-digit code that somebody was just asking about. So it is 05980424. You enter in that code. That will identify you, since you've used a personal email address to register, as the Thalia Waste Management employee. That means that within the app then, and within the Education Hub and in the library, you'll have access to the materials that are relating to all those pathways I described. You can imagine that some of our workplace clients or employee populations might have access to, or they've asked us to support only on menopause, or only on fertility and family forming, or only on men's health. And so within their libraries, they'd only have that information or those resources. You have access to all of the clinical pathways that I've described, and that is fertility and family forming, including adoption and surrogacy support. It includes all of women's reproductive hormonal and sexual health, and all of men's reproductive hormonal and sexual health, as well as maternity. So entering in this 8-digit code, make sure that you get access to all that. Afterwards, you will be asked for your, apologies, Thalia corporate email address. And I can hear you thinking, you've just told me to use a personal email address. Pardon me. And you've just explained that we should keep information off of the Thalia corporate servers and the email accounts. And yes, that's true. This is actually just used for verifying your email status, and that your email address is still live as a proxy to your current employment status. Because as you can surmise from all of these steps, one could potentially register with a Gmail address, find out or still remember or have written down after maybe having left the organization or a friend works at the organization, the 8-digit code. So we use your work email address to which we send a link that you'll have to click through in order to verify that you're actually a current Thalia employee. And then once you've done that, you'll get a text message with two-factor authentication. I realize you're now thinking this is the third or fourth step, but again, hopefully it's a reflection of how seriously we take the data that you're going to be sharing with us, how sensitive this information is, and therefore how seriously we take the steps in order to access your account. And then once that's all complete, you will get an email that confirms that your registration has been successful, and you'll be invited to fill out your profile in the app. Somebody's been asking how you find the list of the monthly webinars and how to access it via the app. You'll be able to see, and it should be spotlighted when you get into the app about upcoming events, and that'll probably show you the upcoming or the forthcoming, the very next webinar. There will also be then in the resources the list of all the subsequent webinars as well, and they should all be available to you. You should be able to see that. If you can't see that, another perfect segue to the last thing on this slide, any questions that you might have, first of all, can be answered in-app. So you can now use in-app messaging and ask that question in the app if my answer wasn't sufficient or you still can't see it. Or you can also email us at any point. So for example, maybe registration wasn't successful. You didn't get that two-factor authentication code sent to your mobile phone. You haven't been able to register, so you don't have access to in-app chat yet. You can email us at employeesupport@fertifa.com. So I'm just going to leave, while I've gone through that, I'm going to leave this slide up for a little bit because I can show you I'm not hiding anything. The last slide does have a QR code, but I was just going to leave this on just for a few more minutes because it's got that 8-digit code, although kindly Lizzie, my colleague from Fertifa, has answered in the Q&A box that the code is 05980424. Here, I will leave it now for another couple of minutes as well, because this is a QR code that will take you to a download link directly if you don't want to go through the App Store and actually search for the app. That's just to show you I'm not hiding anything else. So this is the last slide with any content. So I can leave the QR code here, and it's got the company code at the bottom again as well. So that is all of the prepared information that we had planned to go through. I promised you it was about 20-25 minutes. It's hopefully not been too much information, but like I said, the session is being recorded. So hopefully if there's anything I glossed over too quickly or didn't quite sort of sink in, feel free to view the webinar back. The recording will be sent to all of you, or it'll be posted for you to be able to access. But I'm also really happy to take any additional questions right now. Again, thanks to those who already asked questions in that Q&A box or in the chat box as well. But if there are any other questions, or if Sarah, Polly, or Lizzie from the Fertifa team think that there's anything else I should have mentioned or even said incorrectly for some reason, please do let me know now. Otherwise, before I forget, I did want to thank you all for tuning in and listening today or watching this session. We know that your time is really, really valuable. We know you all have jobs that's by virtue of you being Thalia employees. And so we appreciate you taking the time to listen in and to hear our pitch as to why we think this is particularly relevant to all of you, whether that's something you might be going through, a partner or spouse, or maybe a colleague, so that you can maybe support them as a colleague, if not a line manager, or even just as a team lead yourself as well. We have hopefully explained why we think it's directly relevant and impactful for the workplace, as well as why Thalia is so committed and was so great to work with from our point of view to launch this for all of you. They are interested in your well-being. They're here to support you. Yes, of course, that assists and ensures greater productivity from a workplace point of view, but it is just because it's a very compassionate, empathetic organization, and we can attest to that from the work that we've done to get this launched. So thank you all for tuning in. Thanks again to Sarah and Polly, and also to Josh for organizing this session today, and also to my colleague Lizzie, who's been behind the scenes and was going to sort of do a virtual kick under the table or ping me if I'd gone astray. But let me know if there's any other questions, or if the Thalia team wants me to mention or review anything else.
I think there's a question there from Josh. Do you offer generic screening consultations even if someone isn't experiencing symptoms of any specific issues?
Sorry, just to make sure I've got the question, and I'm sorry if I missed the question. So it was whether we offer screening and consultations for something that somebody's already been diagnosed with. Was that the question?
Or even if somebody isn't experiencing symptoms of any specific issues, so generic screening consultations.
Sorry, thank you for that. So yeah, we can do, especially if that's useful. Again, from a well-being standpoint, we know that a lot of times what can be disconcerting is not knowing what's happening, right? And so even if there isn't specific symptoms, or we're not clear, or you're not clear on necessarily what's happening, if somebody has suspicions of, there's a health history, there's a family history, or the reasons why they might want to have some sort of screening or testing or diagnostics, we would be very happy to talk through, first of all, why the concern is there, where that's come from, to make sure that there's education and somebody's informed about, okay, that might be something you need to think about, but actually, don't worry, it's unlikely to be so-and-so. But even so, if somebody wants to pursue testing or diagnostics or something, absolutely, we'll signpost to where that's available, whether it can be available for free through the NHS with a referral through GP, and we'll help you navigate or how to go about that, or through a private clinic, or maybe an NHS specialist clinic, or from ourselves. So say, for example, I'm not obviously 38 years old, but say there's a 38-year-old female employee who's wondering, could I maybe be going through early menopause or menopausal symptoms? I'd like to take a menopause testing kit. Yes, we would be happy to offer that, even if it wasn't clear as to whether or not there were symptoms. In full transparency, probably too much information, but a little bit of clinical knowledge here. If a woman is 45 years and older, we would probably say no, actually. Even though we could make money selling a testing kit, we would probably say, no, you don't need a testing kit for menopause if you're 45 years or older, because clinically speaking, you would be going through perimenopause. And the question is simply the degree, the severity, or the sort of presentation of any symptoms. Some women don't have any symptoms at all, and some people have some really debilitating symptoms. But if a woman is 45 years or older, we would actually discourage them from spending money to get a testing kit, and we would just try and handhold or walk through what they might be experiencing and how to maybe prepare for those, or how to manage those if that's the case. If there's something else that somebody wants some testing and diagnosis for, again, yes, absolutely. We're here to make sure that somebody is feeling informed about what they're going through. So whatever we can do to do that would be fine. I'm seeing, by the way, that another question is whether or not people have to travel to London for clinical appointments or treatment. And the answer to that is no. So if someone is based outside of London, as I've hopefully tried to stress, we're here to also support you from a well-being standpoint, or to know that you've just got an advocate on your behalf to help you go through maybe what you're going through at your local GP or your NHS. That's fine as well. If you wanted to go through private treatment, we are here to also help you find private clinicians that might be closer to your home if you're not based in London. If it's a health assessment or a consultation from us or at Fertifa, those are all done virtually. And so we would do those remotely. But if it's for IVF, if it's for egg freezing, if it's for visiting a private clinic for a vasectomy or the like, we will help you. We're here to help you find somewhere closer to home, or whatever's convenient and suitable for you.
There's one other question there from Josh again, which is, will you need to access an individual's medical records to be able to offer support?
Thank you for repeating that. I don't know why I can't see. So I can see the Q&A box, but I can't see the chat function for some reason. So the answer to that question is no. Will we need to access it? And I don't mean to sound like a politician, but I'll slightly reframe the question in an answer, which is, in order to deliver the best support and the most relevant advice to somebody's circumstances, the more context our clinical team, our doctors and our nurses have, the better informed their advice will be. We don't automatically access one's medical records. We do not go to somebody's GP. We don't contact someone's GP unless it's with their express consent, if not their outright request, for example, to compare notes or to help them interpret the notes. So we don't access medical records as such. If one has medical records, if they have test results to share, if they've gone through, say, a fertility treatment cycle and then are thinking about a second one and would like to see what our team's read would be on the results that they had and want to upload those through the app or share them with the team, we're very happy to refer to those. And as I've mentioned, we do have a medical history questionnaire that we will ask individuals to fill out to give us some baseline understanding of one's health history. But I might be reading too much into the question. We won't do any kind of automated access or grab of somebody's medical health history or records, unless, again, that would be useful or really helpful to somebody. And in that case, it's provided by them. Sorry.
No, I think that's all of the webinar chat.
Oh, and thank you. Somebody anonymously has said that it's not a question, but they're saying that the sign up went smoothly for them while they've been listening to the webinar, and that they've already seen interesting articles. So I appreciate that. It's an anonymous attendee. I'm going to assume it's not Polly, but I appreciate whoever took the time to mention that. So thank you. I'm just scrolling through to see if I can see anything else, but I don't think I can just now. Does anybody else have any other questions that I can answer? Or Sarah or Polly, do you think there's anything else I should touch on?
No, I think that's everything that I can see in the chat and the Q&A. Thank you so much for delivering that wonderful webinar.
No, thank you.
I guess if we do get any other questions after the webinar, we can obviously take those away and feed them, hopefully feed them back to you, Eileen, to come back to us on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're so proud and we're really honored to be partnered with all of you now at Thalia. We're here to support the whole team and partners and spouses. And so any questions that we can answer, you know, we're here to try and encourage as many people to take use of and advantage of the services as they can. So yeah, Lizzie, who you've been working with, and I are happy to answer any and all questions. And for employees, if they have questions where they don't want to go through yourselves, please just feel free to drop an email to employeesupport@fertifa.com or book in to speak to somebody in the app or just use in-app messaging. So thank you all again.
Thank you.